So what we're going to do, I have prepared a short presentation, but I really want this to be interactive. I don't like feeling like I'm talking to myself. I prepared a short presentation. We're going to go through it, just kind of giving you an introduction to what social media marketing is, and some really practical tips on how you can go about getting started. I didn't want to assume that everyone here was a beginner. So, like I said, I left it open-ended at the end so that we can really go through a deep dive, a Q&A, no matter what level you are in your business. We can talk about strategies that you can use to grow. I'm really excited about social media. I, grew up on the computer. I think I might have been one of the first generations to do that. And so social media has just been a natural extension of the things that I've done. But we'll get into that in just a second. So let me do this. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And if I did that correctly, you guys should be seeing my presentation right now.
Yes, we can see it.
All right, perfect.
Yes, we do.
Social media has just been a natural extension of the things that I've done. Oh, wait. Oh, it's like we got a new person here. Hi, Charmaine. All right. So, hey. So, we're just getting started the presentation. You're right on time. So, today we're talking about social media marketing. I'm just going to give you a quick primer. But before we get started, I'll give you a quick introduction to who I am and why I'm qualified to give you this information. So my name is Brandon Jackson. I am from Raleigh, North Carolina. Actually born in Miami, Florida, but I was raised right here. And I've been doing business for a long time. So I started my first business when I was 14. I actually told this story on my Instagram earlier today. But when I was 14, I started drop shipping sneakers from China. Drop shipping is a practice where you can order products, and instead of you holding the inventory, you order them straight from the factory, but the factory sends those products directly to your customers. So at 14, I found a supplier online who was selling Jordans and all sorts of other clothes and shoes. And so, of course, I was excited because I liked Jordans. And I was like, well, I could buy more Jordans if I get other people to buy them from me. So they had a deal, it's wholesale. So the more you buy, the cheaper you get the cost per item. So I was able to say, all right, well, if I want 3 pairs of sneakers, that means I have to buy 12. And so I would find 9 other people, we'd place a big order, and I'd get my free sneakers and some extra spending money. And so that was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And I just kind of kept going. It scaled from there. So at the peak of that business, I was 16 years old, a junior in high school, and we were bringing in about $1,500 a month, which now that I'm thinking back, I'm like, that was a lot of money that I spent on, food in the lunchroom, clothes, shoes, electronics, all these crazy things that kids spend their money on.
I should have been in your life then, Brandon.
So yeah, I mean, I wasted it, but it was really cool because it gave me a relationship with money that, a lot of times we're always looking forward to the next check. We're always looking forward to, okay, what opportunity do I have? But starting a business at that age gave me a mindset that no matter what's going on, I can make money for myself. And so, I mean, that could lead to ego issues, but we won't get into that. Thank God for salvation, right?
Yes.
So my first business, again, was this sneaker selling business. And what I didn't realize at the time was that I was building a very large case study on what it means to brand. So my business was called BJ Kicks and Urban Apparel. One of my friends who rode the school bus together, he actually started calling me BJ Kicks. That was my nickname. And that's my first experience with a brand name. People literally are calling me kicks, which is just a slang term for sneakers. And that's me. That's what people know me as. There are people to this day that still call me that I've never met, that I don't know. I'll be walking around, which is why I probably didn't move out of Raleigh, but I'll be walking around and somebody's like, oh, hey, it's Kicks. And I'm like, hi. Um, but what's really cool about that is, again, it's branding. And branding is really just doing what you're called to do consistently, right? We know Coca-Cola because it tastes good, right? It's the same drink every time we drink it, but it also has a certain look, a certain feel. So this business,
I'm drinking a Coke right now.
nice. And see, so over time, of course, we develop great relationships with brands. We trust in brands, and we want to keep that going further, right? There are certain brands that you can think of where, let's say you wanted a tissue. Somebody might say, oh, do you have a Kleenex, right? Kleenex is a brand. Kleenex isn't the actual product, but you've heard that name so much, you associate it with the product. And that's where we would all aspire to be, right? If I think of Financial Fridays, I wanted to think of Tiffany. I want to go to Tiffany's session, right? That's a good thing for Tiffany if her product is a financial product. But anyway, I digress. So I started working in marketing. From that business, I really took an interest in the visual side of things. So I was always creating t-shirts, creating graphics to go online. And when I started my first business, it was right at the beginning of what we're calling now the social media age. So at the time, MySpace was the biggest social media platform. And MySpace was really cool because you could customize your page. You could put whatever graphics you wanted. So if you knew how to use Photoshop and you knew a little bit of HTML coding, you could have your own little custom slice of the internet. And it was really fun. So I went from making MySpace pages just for myself and my friends to making MySpace pages for all the local rappers and all the kids in high school that were into music like I was. And that just really quickly expanded. So as you can see, my portfolio includes work for local businesses across the state. I've done logo designs for beauty companies that have had signs and billboards on the street, all the way up to entertainers like Lala Anthony, who's Carmelo Anthony's wife or ex-wife. I don't know, because they don't know either. But so I've been working with individuals, with brands for a really long time. Like I said, I started when I was 14. I got my first really big client work at 17, and I'm 29 now. And what I do now that I'm out of doing individual client work for design, because like I said, I really got excited about design, but I started noticing that some of the campaigns that I was designing work for just felt like they were falling flat. And it wasn't because it didn't look good, but the internal structures behind the marketing process just weren't always in place. And so I went to school, I went to UNC Greensboro, and I studied marketing. I took as many internships as I could. I watched as many YouTube videos as I could, and I started consulting clients on my own. And so what I do now is I help business owners like yourselves find, monetize, and scale their audiences. It's important to me that you know exactly who your target audience is, who your ideal customer is, you know where they are and how to get to them so that you can bring them your offer, right? Now, a lot of times we think of marketing as this really salesy thing. We think of it as almost conniving, right? Kind of evil. We have a really icky feeling when we hear the word marketing. But marketing really is supposed to be a very harmonious thing, right? It's you fulfilling a need that your customer has. And so it shouldn't be unwelcome. If you know who your target is, you know why your product is good for them, then it should be like you making an introduction to your friend, that you're hoping that they get married to, right? It's not evil in its intent, even if it doesn't work out in the end. So on to today's topic. Today, we're talking about social media marketing, and it's important for us to start with a working definition. So I pulled this straight out of the Oxford Dictionary of Marketing. So social media marketing is a market model that uses social websites, networks, and channels to increase brand awareness, to market a company's products or services, and to increase website traffic. So social media, there are lots of different social media websites. And we define social media by the intent of the page, right? Most websites are there just to give you information. You think of the Wall Street Journal, it's a database of articles, right? It's a newspaper website. But Facebook is a website that is designed to get you and your friends aggregated, and so that you can talk to each other about whatever interests you. Facebook doesn't care what content is posted. Facebook cares that people enjoy it, right? So that's what social media is. The primary purpose of social media is, like it implies, for people to get on the websites and be social. So there are lots of different types of social media websites out there. There's Facebook, there's Twitter, LinkedIn for the more professional crowd, Instagram, YouTube. We don't think of it as social media, but it is. You can follow people, you can comment, you can like and subscribe. TikTok is probably the newest craze, and it may be on its way out the door, depending on, just how everything goes with the president and his feelings tomorrow. Pinterest is one where you can shop for products. You can kind of create your own little wish list. You can create your own, it's almost like vision boards, right? And you can share those vision boards with other people, and they can look and say, oh, let's say when I was running a photography business, I would get on Pinterest all the time because people would have boards about, let's say, wedding photography, their ideas, their inspiration. So you can just save photos, you can save articles, and you can kind of group them all in one neat bulletin board that you can share with your friends. And then Snapchat. Snapchat is, I don't use Snapchat, but it's really popular among the younger crowd because the whole draw of Snapchat is that you post content and it disappears within 24 hours. Or if you send someone a private message, as soon as they see it that first time, it disappears. You can't screenshot it or anything like that. So young kids eat it up. I don't have time for that. If I'm going to create content, I want it to be something that lasts. I don't want it to go away because I got to create something else. But as you guys can see, there are many, many types of social media, and it can be really overwhelming to market your business on social media. But it's important to do that because social media is where your customers are, right? We don't really live in a business to consumer world anymore, even if we do, right? Nowadays, all of the popular brands are online. They all have Twitter accounts. They all have a specific voice. So even when you're posting for a brand, the people that are interacting with you feel like they're interacting with a person. So it's important that you are on social media so that people can get to know you, get to know your company, understand where you fit in their lifestyles, and learn to trust you so that they can buy from you. Now, I want to get into some barrier. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit? Is that Google Plus in the middle?
That is Google Plus in the middle. And as far as I
Okay.
understand, Google Plus is going away. They shuttered it.
Okay.
It never really caught on.
Okay.
So yeah, but this is just an old graphic. That you also see the WhatsApp logo under that. And then we talked about the rest of them. Did anybody else have any questions before I move on? All right, I'll take that as a no.
This is good.
Cool. So there are quite a few barriers to success, or we can call them excuses, that people give when I'm like, hey, why aren't you on social media? What's going on? And you may fit in one or a couple of these different boats, right? You don't know what to post. You don't have enough followers, so you feel like you're putting energy into nowhere. That you don't want to be glued to your phone. That's me, right? I love having fun. I'm a social person, but I don't think everything is supposed to be for the internet. And so my tendency is actually to shy away from social media because I like to spend my time with my family in person. I don't want to be a zombie glued to my phone. Some people are like, hey, my photos aren't good enough. We're on Instagram and everybody looks like a model, or everybody's got these really cool cameras and their photos look really good. And mine just don't look like that. And what we do is we give ourselves these excuses. We put all of these barriers up in our minds, and we start missing out on opportunities because we think we're not good enough. When in reality, like I said, your business is there for a purpose. It solves a need. It solves a problem that these customers have, and they're waiting for you. So with all these excuses built up, I want to go through a reality check. So there are a few things that you just need to know about social media that hopefully are going to help you understand why you need to get up there. So the first thing is that posting on social media gives you opportunities in ways that no other advertising can to reach your ideal customers directly, right? And let's think about the more traditional media forms that are out there, right? Before social media, you had pay-per-click advertising, which was really, really expensive, and you didn't really have a way of tracking who it was clicking on the ads. You may have put an ad out in the phone book or the classified section of the newspaper, right? Or if you had a little bit more of a budget, you could shoot a TV commercial and put it on a couple of different channels, and hopefully that reached the right people. You can put a billboard on the side of the highway. But you get where I'm going with this. None of those mediums gives you direct access to the people that you believe are your customers. On Facebook, if I post something right now, right, somebody's going to click like. And it's not just going to say 3 people like this. If I hover over it on Facebook, it's going to tell me exactly who liked it. It's going to give me the opportunity to invite them to my page to see more content, right? And like I said, when we were talking about the definition before, social media, the goal of it is not just to have a big social media presence, but it is to lead these people elsewhere, to your website, to your email list, or directly to the products that you offer. So it's really important, and it gives you, like I said, a direct line with all of these people who potentially will spend money with you. The other reality check, if you're thinking you're not good enough, you're thinking your camera equipment's not good enough, you didn't put enough makeup on today, you're not buff enough, you didn't go to the gym. I didn't go to the gym today. I'm slacking. But people don't care what you look like. Your customers don't care what your brand looks like. They only care about what their problems are and whether or not you can solve them. So I was talking to a business owner today. She owns an online boutique, and she was saying, hey, I'm having a hard time figuring out how to stand out. How do I stand out from all these other boutiques in the area? And I said, well, I'll ask you this. Why did you start the online boutique knowing that there were so many others already out there? And she explained it to me very clearly. She said, hey, well, people or these online boutiques, a lot of the times you order from them and the clothes aren't well made, or they don't fit well, or they feel cheap, or they're just not comfortable, right? All these different things. She said, I wanted to make sure that I could represent quality, and I want to make sure that people know that they can shop with me without the headache. And I'm like, well, that's a very specific problem. So imagine, I mean, I don't shop at online boutiques, and I'm a man, I'm a guy. So all of our things are the same size everywhere. If I wear a 32, I'm a 32 at every store. But for women, I know that experience is different, right? A size 9 for my daughter at one store could be a size 11 for her at a different store. And it's just insane. It's even harder for my wife.
Say
Uh,
that, Brandon.
I don't have much more to say about that.
Thank you. Don't get them started.
Right.
And also, Brandon, this is
Mhm.
Charmaine.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to add in too is that there's something called a petite cut. So if you're short, like, you know, I'm 5'3", I say everybody's not blessed to be 5'3", but the cut is different than a regular size. You follow me? So I buy petite cut because of the size, you know, the length rather. So, you know, that's something very specific too. So good information.
Got you. So you know what's interesting for men? We have a waist size and we have an inseam size, right?
Mm-hmm.
My leg is 32 inches long. My waist is however many inches wide, right? And that's it. It's the same at every store. Now they may have different cuts, but you know, we know based on our body type, different cuts just won't work for us or will. But yeah, for women, there just seems to be so much more to juggle. But knowing that women have so much more to juggle when it comes to figuring out what size they are, then I can understand why online shopping can be a huge nightmare. So if someone said to you, hey, I have an online shop, I make it very easy to know what your size is. We have charts. We have real models in our pictures. We have maybe like a 3D tour so you can see how it fits on a real live person. All of these things, right? It would be easy for you to say, oh yeah, I want to shop there because I know shopping on XYZ website, you know, might yield me worse results. I remember I ordered something for my wife on Amazon and it came in the mail and I was like, this could literally fit my daughter. And it said it was a size extra large, right? So if you can solve that problem, I'm sure you guys don't care what that website looks like as long as it's functional and it's not hard to navigate. You care that when you order a size large, it comes home and it feels like a size large, right? So so that's the other thing, right? So people don't care what you look like. They don't care what your camera looks like. As long as you don't just look completely jacked up, you can go ahead and get started. The other thing is that your customers need you to show up. It's not optional. It's not like you can't, if you're not on social media, you can go get the customers elsewhere. You may be able to, but you'll get burnt out chasing customers this way. But your customers are already on Facebook. They're already on Instagram and they need the solution that you have. And they're just waiting for it to be presented to them. But the issue is because you're not on social media, they don't know you exist. So here you are without customers, without this revenue stream, and here they are without a solution to their problem. Why not fix that issue by posting on social media? And the last point I'll make is that you never know who's watching. So I've got a quick story. So like I was saying to you guys earlier, I started this brand, Marketing with Brandon, in early April. It was just an idea that I had. I already run a business full time called KDMR Music. It's a music marketing agency. So I teach musicians the same things that I'm teaching you, but tailored specifically to the music industry and how to operate there. And so that business has been going well. I've been doing it for about 4 years now. And I'm right over the garage, so I apologize if you hear any humming right now. But yeah, I've been operating that business for about 4 years now. But when the pandemic hit, I would be posting on my social media profiles and people would comment like, hey, does this work for a lip gloss business? Will this work for my photography business? And I'm like, I don't know how you found this page, but yes, this does work, but we need to tweak it a little bit. So I started Marketing with Brandon during quarantine just as an outlet to give small business owners of all types some really general marketing knowledge so that they could be better equipped to handle the pandemic and the loss of revenue. Now, I'll be honest, I started off really strong with Marketing with Brandon, but my other business started growing as well. So this kind of had to go on the back burner. So I was posting really heavily on YouTube and I slowed down a little bit. I was posting on Instagram. I slowed down a little bit. 2 days ago was September 1st or 3 days ago. And I said, you know what? I need to get back on social media and be more consistent. So I'm going to do a 30-day social media challenge. Every day in the month of September on all of my profiles, I have to post at least once. And what happened was yesterday, some really big influencer in my space saw a post of mine from earlier, shared it on his page, and literally tripled my following. So yesterday when I woke up, I had 104 followers on the Marketing with Brandon Instagram page. And like I said, I hadn't posted there in a while, since August 11th. That was my last post. So all of a sudden, I got this new. It's not an Apple Watch. It's like a $30 knockoff on Amazon, but it's just vibrating. It's just vibrating. I'm like, what's going on? I'm getting a bunch of followers. Right now, I have 294 followers, all because this guy in my space who has 47,000 Instagram followers saw something that I posted. He liked it. And so he created his own post and quoted me as the source. And just that one action brought almost 200 more followers to my page. And so I say you never know who's watching, because we get into these mindsets, we get into this mood where we're like, nobody's paying attention anyway. I've only got 100 followers, and most of them are my friends and family. If I don't post today, it's cool. They're not going to notice, right? But you don't know who's watching. Social media works really interestingly. So you might put the right hashtag, and all of a sudden you're in front of a whole bunch of people. And it only takes one to really boost your presence. There are people who have gone from 0 to thousands of followers in a matter of days, right? So you don't know who's watching. So I say that to encourage you. I know that social media can be tough. It can be challenging. It can be daunting. It's scary to get started, but it doesn't take much. It really doesn't. If you're providing content that is valuable, it will go a long way. And there's nowhere else you can get a return on investment like that, right? Like, I posted on YouTube maybe 2 or 3 times before I got my first client from the Marketing with Brandon business, right? I have 20 followers or 20 subscribers on YouTube right now, but it's already bringing in real revenue. So, yeah, don't sleep. Do not sleep on social media. I hope that if you get nothing else from this talk, is that you need to start on social media now. But I'm sure some of you are wondering, okay, that sounds good, but how do I do it? So I wanted to give just a few tips for rocking it out on social media, right? So we talked about some of the profiles. There are a lot of different types of social media profiles. There's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube. Google Plus doesn't exist anymore, but there's still TikTok. There are new profiles or new networks popping up every day. And if you're going to be on all those networks and you're going to try to blow up on them all at one time, you're going to get burnt out. So instead, I advise you to choose one network to focus on, right? And when I say focus on, you're going to learn as you start posting on social media that it takes a lot of consistency to really grow, right? For right now, the recommended posting on Instagram is 3 to 4 times a day if you really want to see that growth. And that's a lot of content. So I can't imagine.
That good gracious.
Right. It's a lot. So you want to choose one, because you're not going to be able to post 4 times on Instagram, 3 times on Facebook, 7 times on Twitter, and post a video on YouTube every single day. It's just, there's not enough hours in the day, and your content is going to suffer. So people are going to be looking at you like, what is she talking about?
Why did she just post the red screen?
Right. Because something we didn't even talk about is on social media, you want to post content natively, meaning you don't want to post something that really is meant for Twitter on Facebook, because Facebook, people on Facebook are expecting a certain type of content. People on Facebook you can share articles with. How many times have you seen someone on Instagram share a post and then put a link in their caption? And it's like, hey, newsflash, I can't click on this. So, but what happens is people are posting on Facebook, they're posting on Twitter where you can actually post links, and they're just sharing it to the Instagram, but it doesn't work the same way on Instagram. So instead of trying to just duplicate your content all over the place, choose one network to focus on. Now, I do recommend that you go ahead and claim your profiles on all social media. So, for example, my brand is called Marketing with Brandon. So my website is marketingwithbrandon.com. If you search for me on Facebook, it's Marketing with Brandon. If you search for me on Instagram, it's Marketing with Brandon. Now, Twitter, there's a character limit, so I couldn't fit Marketing with Brandon in the handle. So instead, I am B the Marketer, right? But Twitter isn't my main channel, so it doesn't matter as much as people may think it does, right? As long as I have my space, it's like real estate, right? You're going on the Monopoly board and you went ahead and you put a house on Boardwalk. You put a house on Park Place. That doesn't belong to anyone else but you, right? And so it protects you in case, your value does go up on Instagram. Let's say, you end up having something like 60,000 followers on Instagram. Well, that type of attention will attract hackers and scammers. So someone may try to go ahead and claim your name on those other social media networks. And then they're confusing your customers, they're scamming people. Now you've got people on your Instagram page like, hey, what's going on? I bought something from you. You're like, that wasn't me. So go ahead and claim your profile on all the social media profiles or networks, but choose one to focus on. And once you've built an audience there, it'll be way easier to branch out and direct people to other profiles. So my second tip for rocking out on social media is batching your content. And when I say batching, it's like baking cookies, right? You could bake one cookie at a time, but it doesn't make sense, right? So while you're sitting there making the dough and putting the chips in and all that, let's go ahead and roll out enough to make a dozen cookies. Now, I'm not going to eat a dozen cookies at one time. I may eat a dozen Krispy Kreme at one time, but that's a different conversation, right? So we go ahead and we make the full batch of cookies, and we might separate them out. We might put them in Ziploc bags, and we can take them and use them later on. And it's the same way with creating content for social media. So if I know that my main channel is Instagram, and I know that on Instagram we need photos, then what I'll do is I'll go out to a park or go wherever I want to take these photos, bring a friend with a camera, and we're just taking photos. We're taking photos for a couple of hours on Saturday. Now, I already know I only have to post 2 or 3 photos a day. And all of my photos don't even have to be actual pictures. They can be pictures of words. They can be Canva posts, right? So if I know in advance what type of content that I'm going to use, right? Because the next tip is having a content calendar. Then I can say, all right, well, I'm going to go take all the pictures I need for the month this Saturday. So now you're not scrambling, trying to figure out, okay, what can I post? What can I post? You've already got it right there on your phone. And when you're ready for it to go live, you can go ahead and make it live. Now, which goes hand in hand with batching your content is using a calendar, using a content calendar. So it's the beginning of the month, and I always do my content at the beginning of the month. Somebody let me know, can you see me or do you only see the screen right now?
I can see
Both.
you.
All right, cool. So this is my content calendar, and you may not be able to see it because of the light or whatever, but I've got a whiteboard. It's just a dry erase board.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a bunch of different icons. The different icons represent my 2 different businesses. So this little arrow is all of the videos that I'm going to do for Marketing with Brandon. But what I do is I like to have a visual display, a visual representation of what I need to have done for the month. So what I do is at the beginning of every month, I sit down. Now, before I even write out the calendar, I'll show you guys something else. Before I write out the calendar, I'll take just a notebook and just brainstorm. I call it a brain dump, where I just think of however many ideas as I can. I'm not trying to organize them or anything. It's just, what topics do people want to learn about? Now, as I'm reading new books, as I'm reading articles online, it's like, okay, hey, that'd be a good video to make. So I just write them all down. And whenever I get an idea, I pull out this notebook and I write it down. So now I'm not having to think about, okay, what should I post on this day just at the calendar? I've already got a list. And really, my content is based on my mood the day that I write it down. So when I've got my calendar in front of me and I'm like, hey, I got to make 5 videos. What do I want to talk about? What on this list really interests me? What can I really flesh out right now? And what do I need to, really take some time to research more before I go live? So I will sit here and look at my brain dump and say, hey, that one looks good. That looks good. That looks good. So I go from this list of 50, 60 ideas to the 8 videos that I need to put out in a month, because I put out 2 videos a month on one of my channels. 2 videos a week. So I'll go ahead and write out which topics are interesting, and they might get shuffled around. Who knows? Depends on how well I'm able to execute when it's time to film those things. But I also put on my calendar what I call a batching day. So that's the one day in the month that I'm going to sit, I'm going to block out my schedule. I'm going to set up my camera. I'm going to put a bunch of shirts off screen. So I can record one video in a blue shirt and one video in a red shirt. So it looks like it's different days, right? And then I can take time later to edit them. But there is no greater feeling than knowing I've got 8 videos that I need to put out and they're all recorded already. Because let me tell you, video marketing is taxing. There's one day you might wake up and your eye is swollen, or your lips are chapped, or your hair's not done, right? Like there's so many different things. And so if I can say, all right, well, I'm only going to be on camera one day, I can make sure I look really good that day, right? I'll put whatever product in my hair, make sure I get my face lined up, whatever I need to do to make me feel more comfortable on camera. And then I'll say, hey, I'll talk to my wife, my daughter. This is what I'm doing today. If you guys have something else to do, great. But I need it quiet and I'm going to be here, right? And so it's way easier to do that one day a month than every other day say, hey, Leia, that's my daughter's name. Hey, I need you to be quiet for like an hour. I got to record this real quick. After a while, she's going to be tired of me. Like, what? Like, I was trying to watch TV. I only get to watch TV 2 days a week, and here you go, right? So planning it out is not just for me. It's for the whole family, and it makes my business run smoother.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the last tip is to be yourself. And there's a lot that we can say about brand voice, but the trap that a lot of us fall into when we're posting on social media is we just copy whoever our favorite people are, or whatever we see people in our space doing, right? Right now, one of the trends in the online business and marketing space, especially among the women entrepreneurs, is to really just to sound catty. And maybe it's because I'm a guy. That's just what it looks like to me. But people will post and be like, oh, you was out at the club last night instead of getting your business together. Shame on you. And it's like, that's weird, right? So, but because it works for some people, everyone feels like they have to have that same voice. And what happens is I can't differentiate you from any of the other brands. And if I already know this brand well, why would I switch to you? Mm-hmm. So be yourself. Not only is it less confusing for the customer, but it's easier for you. If you've got to post all the time, if you got to post 2-3 times a day, it's going to be really hard to keep up this persona that you've created if it's not authentically you.
It's really good.
So I think that was it for my presentation. So now I really wanted to just open things up for a question and answer. Before we get to that, in case you do want to follow me elsewhere online, like I said, I do this marketing consulting for all types of businesses, anywhere from your local bakery all the way up to celebrity work. I've done it all. And the good thing about marketing is marketing doesn't change. The tactics may change depending on your business, depending on your budget, depending on your audience size, but the overall strategies don't change. Sales funnels don't change. Landing pages don't change, right? So if you need help setting those things up, if you need help setting up your social media, I'm available. So you can follow me on Instagram at Marketing with Brandon, or go to my website at marketingwithbrandon.com. So with that, I'll leave it up for a second. Then I'm going to stop this sharing so we can just have a conversation. All right. I'm done sharing. All right.
So I have a question, Brandon. When you're talking about like batching your content and organizing your content, I have a sheet that I was using to like put what pictures I'll do like throughout the month or whatever on, but then I felt like it was more work because I was putting the pictures in, then I had to go back and I think save the pictures so that I can post them because I was using it from my computer. So then I just started saving them and putting those in an album, and then I would create my content posts from there. Like, do you have any suggestions or practical ways or easy things that you do to organize it?
Yes. So
Okay.
what I use, where's my cell phone? It's not in my
You
pocket.
told them you
You
told
need me
them
to
you didn't
call
want to be
you, Brandon?
disturbed.
I did. All right, I got my phone. It was under my notebook.
Okay.
So what I use the Dropbox app. Because I spent so many years as a trained graphic designer, it's easier for me to go ahead and create graphics on my computer, right? There are plenty of apps that you can use straight from your phone. Canva is a really popular one. There's a website called placeit.net where you can create really nice social media graphics without downloading any fancy software. But for me, I just work faster in the fancy software. So what I've done is I've created a few templates for content posts. Like I said, because my platform of choice is Instagram. So I know I have to have a picture, whether it's a picture of me, a picture of some equipment that I took, or a graphic, but it's really text-based. So for my text-based graphics, what I've done is I have a Dropbox account. So Dropbox is great because it lives on my computer, but it also has an app that I can sync with my phone. So I put something in my Dropbox from the computer, it's already on my phone. So I just save it from my phone. And on my phone, I have an album called Marketing with Brandon. So, and again, we're talking about batching, right? So this is a bunch of posts that I created. What this is, I call it the word of the day. You're not going to be able to read it from there, but I call it the word of the day, and it's just a different marketing term that
Okay.
I explain every couple of days or so on Instagram. But what I did was one afternoon, I sat down and just actually grabbed a marketing dictionary, and I just kind of brainstormed. Okay, what words do I want to explain? Facebook audiences, insights, engagement, right? These are things that I can talk about in a few short paragraphs and explain to an audience. So it did take me a little bit of time, about 10, 15 minutes to create the initial template, but all it is a few icons. So the background stays the same no matter what the word is. And now all I have to do if I think of a new word is just type in the word and export the image. So I put those images, saved them to Dropbox, and now I've got this folder on my phone. And I don't even plan these posts in advance. I just have, based on, my grid on Instagram, I know that the next post has to be a word of the day post. Okay, what word haven't I done that I want to talk about today? Today I'll talk about hashtags. And I can put it straight from the Instagram app. It's on my phone, so I put it on the Instagram, and there we go. I type my captions out in the Notes app on my phone. And it used to be that on iPhones, Instagram wouldn't let you do double spaced. So if you typed out your notes on the Notes app and then you copied and pasted it, it would really like single space it all, make it one big blob of text. But now, if you're using an iPhone, I don't know about other phones, you can actually have that keep that same formatting. So I can go ahead and type my captions out in the Notes app, and when I'm ready to use it, just copy and paste. So
Okay.
again, this allows me to do all the work ahead of time, right? If I'm in a writing mood, I'll sit down and write a few paragraphs. And then when I'm ready to post, it's all right there. I've got my little library on my phone. Um, so I wish I could do everything on my phone, but I'm not one that does well with keeping up with a calendar on my phone, even though it rings, even though it reminds me, right? We have a funny story. Tiffany had to remind me that I was doing this today because I was about to make plans to be somewhere else. And this
That's
has been on
so
my calendar
great.
for a few weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I don't write it down and put it on this whiteboard in front of me, it doesn't exist. So, you may have a bulletin board, you may have a spiral notebook, whatever you need to do to stay organized yourself, do that. But there are tools that make it easier when it's time to execute that content. Like I said, the biggest help for me has been Dropbox. They have Google Drive as well, but I just don't find it to be as easy because Dropbox acts like a folder on my computer. I don't have to go to a website to use it.
And Brandon, currently I use Hootsuite to pre-schedule my posts. Is there an app or anything that you would recommend?
No, Hootsuite
or
is
what
great.
do you use?
Hootsuite is great. I use Hootsuite for my client work. So yeah, I love Hootsuite. I also there's one called Meet Edgar. And there's another one called Smarter Q that does the same thing. But the good thing about Meet Edgar and Smarter Q, Q being Queue, like a line. But Smarter Q and Meet Edgar, they allow you to schedule recurring content. So let's say you're doing free financial Fridays, it's going to be every Friday. And if you use the same Zoom link every time, well, why not go ahead and put that there so it posts every Friday at noon instead of you having to manually do it? Because life happens, right? You might get sick. You might get a call about your mom, your dad. Something will happen right at 12 o'clock because that's how Satan is. And all of a sudden,
yes.
Oh gosh.
Whole day off.
Right. So all of a sudden you didn't post anything and now you get to the free financial Fridays and there's nobody here. So you planned out this hour and there's nobody here because you forgot to post it. So instead, go ahead and post it on a recurring basis so that, hey, I don't have to worry about it. I know the post went out. Now I can go ahead and go to my page and share it. I can boost it. I can maybe put some money behind it so more people see it, but I don't have to worry about whether or not it's there. But yeah, Hootsuite is great. For my business, because my business is so personal, I don't do a lot of pre-scheduled content. Even if I batch it, I just like knowing that I posted it because I like to engage with people right after as well. Now, again, you can do this while still scheduling the content. And I think for most people, it works better that way. But I like to manually post my things so that I can make sure it's formatted correctly because I have had a couple of instances where I thought it was going to look one way and then it went live and it looked a whole different way. And I'm at my 9-to-5 job, so I can't do anything about it right now.
Right.
So sometimes I like to post manually, but for other things, I will post them using one of those scheduling tools. And I think those are great. For example, my business page, it's called, like I said, it's KDMR Music. And what I do is I teach musicians how to market themselves online. Well, my main channel for KDMR Music is YouTube. And on YouTube, videos live there forever. So instead of me only posting the one video a week that I actually create, I'll have it set in Meet Edgar and say, hey, here's my library of YouTube videos. And every week that I create new YouTube videos, I add them to the library. So Meet Edgar will post for me at a specific time every day from different content buckets. So I can choose blog posts, I can choose YouTube videos, I can choose podcast episodes, and it'll post those things automatically to my Facebook, to my Twitter pages. That way, especially for those platforms where you have to post multiple times a day, like Twitter, I hate because I shouldn't say I hate it. I'm not a fan of Twitter because the people that work or that do the best on Twitter, it seems like they just sit on Twitter all day, because you have to be kind of quick-witted. And a lot of what performs well on Twitter is people making jokes about current events. So Donald Trump said something crazy. Let's make a joke about it. Joe Biden looked cross-eyed on camera. Let's talk about that. For me, a lot of that talk isn't productive. That's also why I don't like to be on Twitter. But again, to be successful on Twitter, it almost seems like you just have to be glued to your phone. So having a tool like Meet Edgar, where I can say, hey, post this many times a day about these different topics. If you have content that actually is what we call evergreen, meaning no matter when it's posted, it's relevant, then go ahead and do that. So that, again, like I said, I'm on YouTube. My YouTube channel has over 150 videos on it right now. I can't tweet 150 times a week. Either I'm not going to think about it or my fingers are going to get tired. Something's going to happen, right? But I have this library so that people aren't just seeing my new information, they're seeing the old information too. Because if I'm doing what I'm doing the right way, I'm getting new followers every day. And so why are you wasting time creating new content for every new follower when the old content is new to them too?
Right, that's good.
So yeah, I am a big proponent of scheduling tools, whatever you can use them.
Me too. Just makes
Okay,
it so
that
much
was
easier.
Meet MEET Edgar.
Yep, Meet Edgar, like Edgar the person. I don't know why they called it that. But the way they explain it is like Edgar is like a robot who posts things for you. But
and what was the other one? Smarter Q.
The other one is Smarter Q. Smarter Q. Q is QUEUE. Let me just make sure that those websites still exist.
I was looking for the app on my Android.
So Smarter Q doesn't have an app. It is a web interface. So
okay,
what you would do? Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I did. Excuse me, I did Meet Edgar. I was pulling up the app for that.
Yeah, Meet Edgar has an app too, but the way the Meet Edgar app works is you have to create your account on the computer first, and then you can log in from the mobile app to see what things are scheduled for you.
Okay. Thank you.
With most of the social media scheduling tools, they may have apps, but they're best used from a computer.
Okay.
Because, you've got the bigger screen, you can see the calendar. Like I said, Smarter Q and Meet Edgar do the same things. I think Smarter Q actually has, they're a little bit cheaper, or I should say more cost effective, depending on what your budget is. I just use Meet Edgar because I got a free trial one time for like 3 months and I never canceled it. But they both work well.
Question about hashtags.
Sure.
I used to didn't do a lot of hashtags because I kept doing the same ones over and over again, I think. And then I found out what they call a hashtag generator.
Yes.
And I started copying and pasting some of those on my Instagram posts. And I started noticing a lot more activity. Excuse me, but I do have to check them, see which one I'm hashtagging. But hashtags are just mainly for Instagram, or what about for Facebook and LinkedIn?
So you can actually use hashtags on all three. Hashtags are probably the most effective on Instagram. Think about it. How often do you go on Facebook and actually tap on a hashtag when you see it? Right. So they work. Facebook has added that functionality, but people aren't used to using it. So I wouldn't spend a lot of time researching hashtags for Facebook because it doesn't really make sense. Hashtags actually became popular first on Twitter. And they were really effective on Twitter. I think they still are. A lot of times what you'll see is there's something that's trending, right? And they'll say hashtag Biden's going crazy, or hashtag election 2020, whatever it is. And you tap on that and you see all these people posting about it. So yeah, I think hashtags are great to use on Twitter. They're great to use on Instagram. One thing to note, on Twitter, 2 to 3 hashtags is the max you want to use per post. And on Instagram actually has a limit of 30 hashtags per post. What I like to do is I'll go ahead and put my main caption as the caption on Instagram without any hashtags. And then I put my hashtags in the first comment. And that's because, usually speaking, content that works well on Instagram also works well on Facebook. So you can be killing two birds with one stone. You don't want to try to do Twitter and Instagram at the same time, but Facebook and Instagram at the same time can actually work well. So I'll post it without the hashtags in the caption so that it doesn't have a bunch of hashtags when I put it on Facebook. But when I put the hashtags in the first comment, Instagram still associates those hashtags with the post, and people can still search those hashtags and find your post.
Thank you.
No problem. But yeah, hashtag generators are great to use. I have an app. It's called Hashtag Expert. And what you can do is you can type in a bunch of hashtags that you know work well for you, and you can just tap generate, and it'll generate new hashtags, and you can copy that whole group and put it in your post right from your phone.
So hashtag generators, are those apps that you use?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So they have hashtag generator websites as well. If you just type in hashtag generator, you'll find a bunch.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cheap, so I use those.
Okay. This is good.
I didn't even check to see if we had any questions on Facebook. Do you see any, Greg?
We wasn't even caring. We was just trying to learn
I
how
know.
we could.
I'm busy taking notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me do this. Let me check to
It's
see.
good information, because I was going to ask you, how do you manage?
Manage what? Just post it?
Well, just everything you mentioned about you have a whiteboard where you put in your scheduling and your notebook that you brainstorm, and it can be overwhelming, especially when you're learning. So
Yeah,
part of my issue is management.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? When we talk about, it's really about being organized. It's really what it comes down to. And, we're all adults, some of us have kids, right? It is the hardest thing in the world to get my daughter to stay organized. She will have all her homework. She'll have all of her notes, but she's got the science notebook. She's got the science notes in the English notebook. She's got the math worksheets in the English folder, and it's just all a mess, right? So, but the more we can stay organized, the easier it's going to be for us to do things quickly when the time comes. We're all busy. Most of us who run businesses, it's not our only thing. We may have a 9-to-5 job. We may have kids. We may have family. We may have church obligations, right? So, a lot of us have maybe 10 to 15 hours a week max that we can use in our business. And that's if we're working a lot during the weekend. Some of us don't even want to do that, right? So you've got to be super organized so that the time that you do get to work, those few hours, you can be really, really efficient. So for me, I'm a physical person. As much as I grew up on computers, I can't just work on computers, because for me, it's so easy to get distracted. I might end up on Facebook for 2 hours, right? So I use whiteboards, and I have to have those up around me so I can see, oh snap, today's Thursday. I have a video coming out Friday. I better record that. I better edit that footage that I took. On my computer, I keep different folders. I keep inspiration. If I see a post that does well for somebody else, I use that save feature on Instagram so I can go back and look. And in general, I just try not to be as much of a consumer of content as I am a creator. If I'm looking at content online, I want it to be because I'm doing research. I'm learning from people who are in my space, who are bigger than I am, who are doing better than I am. And I want to be able to emulate those things, not copy them, but figure out how to put my own spin on them. But yeah, between your brainstorming, your content calendar, doing the batching, like I said, so you can take 1 or 2 days a week and do all your work for the month, and then using those scheduling tools, you can make social media a fairly hands-off thing. But it just takes a lot of planning in advance to do it that way.
Hey, wait a minute. I feel left behind for a guy who grew up on nothing but an Atari back in the day. With all this is going on and what you're saying and being organized and batching and hashtagging and all that great information, there's got to be a class that we can take that's a bump
Yep.
down lower than social media one-on-one. I mean, one-on-one is too much for me.
So there are classes. Now, what I recommend is for most people, just grab a book, because there are a lot of people who will try to sell you a class for $97, $197, $997. I don't know why the 7 is the thing on the online space, but it is, right? But most of the information that's out there, you can find for free. What you're paying for is for someone to organize that information for you and teach it to you in a way that you can easily digest it. But you know what does that a lot cheaper? Books. People have to write books in the same way they create these classes. So a great book for social media is this one. It's called Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. You also may just find him referred to as Gary V. But if you type in Crushing It on Amazon, you'll find this book. It's the yellow book with the white guy on the front. And what Crushing It is, it's a great book. And I mean, I've highlighted all throughout this thing, but it's specifically about social media. And what Gary does is he talks about how to use different platforms. He talks about what works well on those platforms. And then he gives different stories of people who were able to grow their brands on those specific platforms that he's mentioning. So there's a chapter on Instagram. There's a chapter on Facebook. There's a section on YouTube, a section about podcasting, Twitter, Musically, which isn't even really being used anymore. So it's a great book because all of the main social media apps, the information is still good on. The one thing I'll say about buying books is there's a book I have here called, where is it? All right. So this book is called The Social Media Bible. And I bought this book from Ed McKay's for $10. Who knows how long ago? And so much of what's in this book is outdated. I mean, they're talking about QR codes, which were these little things that you could scan at the bottom of pages. They're talking about all kinds of things that people just don't use anymore. So if you are going to buy a book about social media, you want to make sure it's written fairly recently because this stuff changes all the time. But Crushing It is still a good resource. It was written, I want to say this came out in 2018. Let's see. But also, the good thing about social media is that there are people on social media that just love to do nothing but tell you how to use social media. So if you're into YouTube, there's a guy named Sean Cannell that I recommend. His channel is called Video Influencers. If you're big on Twitter, it really just depends on what category you're in on Twitter. But there's a lady named Maya Elias, and I can type this in the chat. Here we go. So for all of you guys who are here on Zoom, you'll get to see it. Maya Elias is great on Twitter. She may not necessarily tell you how to use it, but you can see how she operates and kind of emulate some of those things. Now, I will say this. Most of these people in this online business space don't bring Jesus with them all the time. So you are going to want to kind of filter out what you're watching, what you're seeing or whatever. I'll give you that warning. Specifically for Gary V, he likes to use a lot of harsh language. But the content for what it is good as far as the advice is concerned. So y'all type in Gary V. Sean Cannell is good. He's actually a worship pastor. But yeah, so those are a few people to get you started. What you'll find is when you start researching these influencers, these online marketers, all of a sudden that's what all of your suggestions, your recommendations are going to be filled with. So you're not going to have a hard time finding people to look at. You'll have a hard time sorting through them and figuring out, okay, who should I trust and who should I not? So if you want to skip all that, you can just follow me.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so that was a good question.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
No problem at all.
Social media marketing, that's so powerful. I tell you, we had none of that when I was growing up. Boy.
Listen, social media can change your life, really. I mean, it takes consistency. And the hardest part about social media is staying consistent when you know no one is paying attention, right? Like, it's like, what am I doing this for? But like I was telling you guys, I have a YouTube channel, the KDMR Music YouTube channel. We're going to hit 10,000 subscribers this month. And I only post 2 times a week. But for the longest time, it was just once a week, right? Well, what happened was I went from like 200 subscribers to over 1,000 in the course of a week, because one of my videos was about a law that hadn't been passed yet. And then the president signed it into law and people started searching for it. And when they searched, they found my video because it was already there. And so I got 700 followers or subscribers just from that video. And what happens with social media is once you take off, for one thing, the social media platforms, they see that and they're like, oh, this content must be good. Let's show it to more people. And the reason social media works so well for us as business owners is because the goal of every social media company is to keep people on their service. So if you're providing content that people like to consume, then those services will pump your content out to more and more people. That's why you're hearing about these kids getting on TikTok and having over 1 million followers and then getting signed to record labels, right? Because social media platforms, all of them, make their money through advertising. And you can't make money through advertising without having a large customer base for people to advertise to. So you are essential to these social media platforms just the way you feel they're essential to you. So bring your good content there, keep posting it. If it's good content, it will resonate. Don't expect to get 1,000 likes overnight, but keep doing it. Stick to your guns, research bigger people in the space, and you'll do well. I mentioned Crushing It. Crushing It is a good book. There's another great book also. So this book is called Traffic Secrets, and it's by Russell Brunson. Russell Brunson is a Christian as well, but he started a company called ClickFunnels. They're a sales funnel software. And what he does is in this book, he talks about different methods of gaining traffic, whether you're podcasting, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Instagram or YouTube. And he talks about buying your way in, which is using advertising, or earning your way in, which is just posting and really being aggressive about liking and commenting on other people's posts so that more people know who you are. So if you're willing to, again, put in the work, I would say elbow grease, but it's all fingertips. But if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to take the time and put in the effort, you can grow on social media without spending a bunch of money. But if you are willing to spend money, as long as you know who you're targeting, that can be a good avenue as well. But paid traffic is a whole different conversation. We'll have to do another Free Financial Fridays for that.
Sounds good. We can do it.
Amen. Wow, that's good.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Ooh.
This was so rich and good and helpful.
I'm glad.
I know it was.
Yeah. It just really reminds me and challenges me and encourages me at the same time, especially in being consistent, because a lot of the times my goal is, okay, let's sit down and get these get my posts planned, and then I'm like, whew, like I'll get some of them planned, and then the rest now I'm like, okay, I'll take a few days and then jump back in. So and like the more I can be consistent, and people really are watching, because like even when I go back to my hometown, people like that I run into would say, "Hey, I see your information online," and I'm thinking you hadn't said a word. And so like people really are watching, and they like, "Hey, I need to get with you." You know, great work that you're doing. Don't see any likes or any comments, anything from them. So
Right.
that used to aggravate me, but now it encourages me, because I'm like, okay, at least you're seeing it, and you know where to come, because a lot of people make decisions when they're in trouble. At least you know where to come,
Right.
if you need it or when you need it.
Right. I mean, you only knew to invite me to this because I was on social media. We don't
Right.
talk about this in church. We don't talk about this in life group, you know, and there are plenty of people like that for all of you guys, right? I know right now the big thing is this paparazzi jewelry, people going live selling the $5 bracelets or whatever. My wife loves it. She'll watch it all the time, and my wife doesn't post on social media ever, but she watches those live shows. So you'll never know who's watching. People that you don't think are paying attention, they're paying attention. Like I said, that guy that posted my my quote a little while ago, like I said, he's got 47,000 followers. And so when he posted me on his page, I direct messaged him and said, "Hey, thank you for posting me. How did you find out about me?" And he said, "I don't know. I saw it somewhere a couple of days ago. I saw it and I saved it, and I figured I needed to share it." And so again, at the time I had 100 followers. Most of them were my friends and family, right? Now I've got 300. Now I've got people commenting from all over the country. And 300 is not a ton of people, right? I have one channel with 10,000 people on it. But those are people that I don't know, right? And it only takes 2 customers to say, all right, cool, I know where my next 3 checks are coming from. You know, this is good. You know, and so if you're someone like me who's saving for a house, trying to pay off your car, trying to pay off your student loans, every interaction counts. And every time you post on social media, you're giving yourself the opportunity to start a new conversation with someone who could potentially put money in your pocket.
That's good.
You got the right person there with you in Raleigh.
What'd you say?
You have the right person with you in Raleigh that can help you with all of that.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, Brandon, we definitely need you. I was been advised and recommended to get somebody. You said you were 29. They said get a young person who understands social media marketing in your circle. And I guess God has answered my prayer. Wow. What was that name again that you said? At Brandon something? What was that?
Marketing with Brandon.
Okay, Marketing with Brandon. All right. Okay.
So that's my website. That's my Instagram. That's my Facebook. If you type that in anywhere, you'll find me.
Wow. I'm moving on up. Wow. I feel like I tell you that boosted my level of confidence and my level of faith. I feel like a big shot now.
Good.
Just by association.
Yeah. Jermaine.
Huh?
Sounds like Mike kicking me to the side.
Mike doesn't know you anymore, Greg.
See, he been hanging around Spencer too long, Greg.
I'm just loving this this circle of love and togetherness and support that we have here, because it's a lot of growth here. I have been growing a lot in just a short time. So I just thank you guys so much. Wow.
Yeah.
Yep, I appreciate that.
Yes. Well, Brandon, thank you so much. This was very rich, and we appreciate you just taking the time out on a Friday night to join us. So I'll definitely be in contact so we can have you back.
Okay. I'm looking forward.
Thank you for your time too. We appreciate it. I thank you so much.
Oh, it's no problem. Thank you for having me, guys.
You're welcome.
I hope this was better than the movie you thought you were going to.
I don't know. The ladies at the church will have to tell me about it.